Resources, inspiring interviews, business practices, and practical advice to take your art career to the next level. Join Sergio Gomez in today's Artist Next Level and get ready to take control of your career.
Well, hello, my next level friend. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Artist Next Level podcast. This is a special edition episode in which I am interviewing artists from around the world
Jarrett Camp,
as they are stuck at
all the
home
way from
during
LA.
the coronavirus
We're going to talk about
lockdown.
making, what might be an obstacle into a great opportunity in your art career. Well, Jarrett, super happy to have you here, my friend, in the Artist in Lockdown. So, how you doing?
Man, I've been doing good, man. I mean, we're in lockdown a little bit, but I've had so much time to really work on some stuff and work on a lot of artwork. I'm pretty excited, to be honest with you, with having a little bit home, a little bit, having more time to be in my zone, man. So I'm really excited about that.
Well, super, man. And, one of the things that we were chatting before we started recording is how sometimes one might feel to be a big obstacle, like staying at home or, the limitations that we have now, but also finding a way of making them into opportunities. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that as we go through the conversation today, particularly with your own story, which I think is fascinating too. And before we do that, tell me a little bit about, the lockdown. How are things looking over there in LA?
Well, the lockdown, I don't know if you know, but I've been looking at news pretty often, and they're saying that we're doing okay as far as the curve.
Okay.
The lockdown is doing pretty good. I mean, people are still going out a little bit where they're still going out doing stuff, but we're doing okay. But there's just a lot of things we got to work on, about down in here in LA. There's a lot of things are closing down and all types of stuff. But I would think for the artists, particularly for the lockdown, there's a lot of time for us to do a lot of work. So
right.
I can't wait to see what the artwork's going to be out after this thing is over.
Well, yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of good art.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of good artwork.
So let's talk about that, because you are an artist now. From what I've known of your work, we've known each other for about a year or two, maybe, through social media and also through Inside the Art Next Level Academy and some of the things that you've done. So you do kind of like a pointillism technique, right? Stiple art, and like doing thousands and thousands of little tiny dots on a particular work. And also you are doing digital work as well with tablet and pen and so on. So correct. As we are right now in lockdown, are you able to do both types of work? Well, for sure the digital you can do, but are you able also to do some of the stiple work?
Well, see, that's the beauty of it. Because of the time that I'm having so far with the lockdown, it's giving me a huge opportunity to actually do traditional work. Because when I do these pieces, they take me hours and hours and hours to create, because when you do stipple, it's not only creating value with the pieces, but with my situation, because I have dyslexia, I let my dyslexia do my work for me. So I can create interwoven images within images. And that takes a while, because I'm not really using references. I'm just using my imagination to create work. There's a few times I use references, but many a time I have to really go to sleep. Go to sleep before I work on a piece, because there's so much complications to create my pieces. There's a certain part of me that I have a certain way of doing things. There's certain laws and ways that I create my work. Yeah. So with all those in mind, I have to really kind of like get in my zone. But with having this time that I have now, oh man, my mind has been creating so many ideas, and I'm getting really into my stipple work like I've done years ago, and now I'm doing it now. So I'm so excited that I have this time to create these stipple works.
Right. So, and you mentioned that, you have been dealing with dyslexia for some time. Tell me a little bit about your story, how that, kind of pointed you towards the work that you do with stiple, which is a very tedious technique, right? so tell me how you arrived to that, and how an obstacle that may have appeared to be, the dyslexia, has actually something that turned into something beautiful, which is the art that you make.
Well, it started off when I was in high school. I was going through elementary school and didn't even know I had the issue at all. I didn't know what dyslexia was. I was actually being made fun of when I was going up to the board and saying, "Oh, you can't write." And one time I was writing. One time I wrote a whole essay backwards. I didn't realize what I did, and it was like, wow, I didn't know what it was. So my actual art teacher, Miss Olson, told me that I had dyslexia. I didn't know what it was, and I was really sad about it. I went through the entire school going through getting C's and D's and really low scores. But one time when I was in my room and I had my table, I just started doing dots. I just felt like just trying doing dots because I wanted to do something with my art. And all of a sudden, as I started doing dots, I noticed that I can see images within the images because they're dots. Maybe because the process is slower. But as I start creating artwork, I've noticed that with different landscapes, like the rules of third, within the rules of third, I can create images on objects on top of objects. So like I can create an object and then with a negative space, I can create another object and continue it upside down, right side up. And it became more of a gift than anything else. And to this day, I try my best to be somewhat of a champion toward artists who have dyslexia and tell them, you can use it for yourself if you learn how to use it as a skill. It's more like an ability now. Well, I've been using it for quite some time.
It almost became like a superpower.
Yeah, you can say that. You can say that, kind of like a superpower, because within the images that you'll see in the back, I mean, there is multiple hidden images within images. I do that because not only I have dyslexia, but I always thought that when I went to a museum, I always looked at artworks and I couldn't quite understand why the abstract was the way it was. So as I started doing a stipple work, in my mind, back in my mind, I'm thinking, if I had a person see my work, could I make it so that they can look at my work for 30 seconds or more? So I started putting elements like a Wells Waldo elements, different hidden images, because when a person sees my work, I want them to not only look at it from far away, but really close up, you can see hidden images that tell the same story.
That's interesting. Yeah, so there's an element of discovery as people look at the work. They begin to notice and find new things within themselves. Now, one of like a typical stipple work, like the one that we have right now in the back, the dolphins, which actually have a printed just like that in my home. Good timing. So, something like that, for example, how many days or hours would you estimate something like that would take to make?
Okay, so the fastest I've ever done a stipple work, and it's actually small, was a week.
Okay.
I mean, I'm talking a full week, like 4 hours, 3 hours, 5 hours. For instance, the one back there, that took me a week and a half.
Wow. And how about some of the bigger ones?
Oh man, I'm talking months. If you ever look at my Instagram, right now, you'll see this piece called the Conform piece, and I've been working on that since April, and I'm only 10-15% done. So I'll probably be done maybe by the end of May.
Wow.
To get that piece done, because remember, I'm not really using references. It's all about the imagination, and my mind is forming the piece. So I go to sleep before I even start to even do this back. For me to even get back to that piece, I have to take a nap so it can rejuvenate my brain and think about how the piece is going and calculate all the images that I had before to put them down. Added the values of stipple too, like the shapes, the value of the light source value, that all has to go to play as I'm doing stipple with the objects.
Right. Very interesting. Now, tell me also how you transition also from doing the, stiple work to the digital platform and doing work with the tablets. Was that something out of necessity or something that you were curious about, yeah.
That was a mistake. That was something my brother introduced me because he wanted me to work with digital. He opened up a web designing company, and he told me I need you to work on some artwork, and I was like, what digital work? I'm a stipple artist. I'm going to work with digital work, But as I started working with digital, I realized how powerful this tool is. As you can see, like it introduced me to color with my stipple work. It introduced me to pointillism. But it's at a point with doing stipple that it's more, I'm trying to work on an innovative way of doing it. In other words, just creating different elements with stipple and broadening it to see how far can I as an artist put stipple and pointillism. Can I use it as a brand? Can I use it as t-shirts? Can I use it as artwork, of course? How far can I push stipple and pointillism? Because as you know, we all know that out in the world, stipple and pointillism is a very, very small area for artists to work with, because that patient, you got a lot of patients to create a piece.
Right. Excellent. Well, Jarrett, I think that's pretty awesome. Thank you for sharing your work, your story, and how, some of the obstacles have also become assets. And I think that's the time in which we are in right now, where this big obstacle, for many artists is also becoming an asset. For one thing, as you mentioned, is giving us more time. So that is great, in which we can really focus on our work and creating amazing work that we can then show starting right now. We can show it through a digital platform, and eventually, hopefully, very soon we can start showing it to people in the world, in the physical world as well. So where can our friends find find your work online, and also your brand of clothing brand and all that? What's your website? And also if you can share your Instagram account.
Okay, so my website is Jarrett Camp Art, JarrettCamp, Art, ART. And my Instagram is Jarrett Camp Fine Art. Fine Artist. There it is. Fine Artist. Jarrett Camp Fine Artist.
Thank you so much for watching. Hope to see you in the next episode. Thank you much.
Check out our website at www.theartistnextlevel.com, where you will find our podcast library, learn about our upcoming webinars, find resources relevant to your career, and much more. Thanks for listening to today's podcast, and we'll see you at the next level.